psychological needs and requirements. So to that extent, I do qualify to come and talk to you here. But there are other more important reasons, I would think. I am a father. I have children, adults, they have grown up. But I suspect the most important qualification that has brought me here is the fact that I am now a grandfather. Now, for those of you who have grandfathers and to some extent grandmothers, you will know that grandparents really have very little to do with this world. Their most important occupation is to tell stories. So ladies and gentlemen, I am here as a grandfather, and my job is to tell you a story. So sit back, relax, and listen to this grandfather telling his story. So my story is about leadership. And unknown to many people, people think that leadership is only in politics. Completely wrong. When you have a church and you're the pastor in charge, you're a leader. When you are in a school and you are the head boy, you're a leader. When you have a choir and there is a person who conducts that choir, he is a leader. If you have a space program and you're taking people to Mars, the person in charge of that program is as good a leader as your headmaster. And here are some examples of some people who are leaders. The Pope is a leader, your mother is a leader, the head girl is a leader, your football captain is a leader, and so on. Now, we are here to contemplate a global society. I have told you that you are being prepared for entry and for work in the global community. When those of you who are interested in history, study history, there is no time like now. There is no time in history when communication between human beings was as quick as it is today. In Rio, last night, Bwana Rudisha alirudisha gold to Kenya again. As he was running in Rio, we were watching and enjoying it. And every person in this globe had the opportunity of watching what this great Kenyan was doing. These are new times. Those of you who have smartphones and are able to get into social media understand the full impact of instant communication. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's just a thing as it is. On Sunday, Arsenal lost to Liverpool 4-3. I don't know why you're so happy. Some of you are happy, some are sad. But as those 7 goals were scored, billions of young men and women were watching at exactly the same time. That is what a global society is. A global society is about music icons. I don't know which are the big ones these days. It's about serious things. This morning on the BBC, I heard about the spread of yellow fever. We've been hearing about diseases like Zika. We heard about Ebola. All those things happen instantaneously, and we all know about them at the same time. The world has become a small place. So when we say that this program is preparing you to be global citizens, that is exactly what we mean. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is this globalization about which we are preparing you? It is actually the reality that the world is becoming more and more similar. When my grandfather lived on this earth many years ago, the extent of his influence was limited, almost to the marketplace. And the things that he did in his little village impacted only the people around his village. I understand that one or two of you, maybe more, will have come from villages or from small communities across this country. This program, when you're done with it, and because you are destined for great things, I can promise you, the influence and impact that you will have will go beyond your village, will go beyond your city, will go beyond your country, and you will be relevant in the entire world, where boundaries will not be there. And therefore the things that you will need to think, the things that you will be required to do, will be global in nature. And this program, of course, as you've been told already, is one that prepares you to take people to places. It is a program that will enable you at your full potential to bring about change in and around your community. Ladies and gentlemen, what am I telling you? I am telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that because a lot has been gifted to you by God, and because a lot has been gifted to you by this particular program, a lot is going to be demanded of you. So, and I know you've been told some of these things already, yesterday and today. What are some of those things that will qualify you into leadership? The second bullet point there is important. To the extent that you can, it is important that you ask of yourself, na mimi ni nini? Mimi ni nani? What do I live for? Why do I live? And to the extent that you can, you must allow yourself not to repeat mistakes you have made in the past. A need and search for new knowledge is critical and is important. There are many qualities of leadership. You can Google them and you will find them. But the second bullet point again, and I found Mary emphasizing this one, is that of ethical practices. My view, and I hope shared by others, is that a society that does not practice ethically is bound to collapse. Now, ethical practices sounds like a very big and complicated word. In fact, even at school, when you go back next term, it is possible to do your work ethically. It hurts and pains me to think that there are Kenyans, for example, who cheat in examinations. All I can say as an old man, a grandfather, is washindwe. Na washindwe kabisa, bure watu. Bure kabisa. You cannot run a country or society with people who cheat as exams. And I know this from my bones, that no person working with this equity program would be tempted to even consider cheating in examinations. Do you have your commitment on this one? Ladies and gentlemen, it's basic. You start cheating today, you will cheat in the future. And then, ladies and gentlemen, there are those things that we believe in, those things that define us, those things from which we are not moved. Let me give you some examples. It goes without saying that we must be trustworthy people. It goes without saying that you will respect each other. Now, again, this sounds like a very complicated thing, but when you go back to school next term, it goes without saying that even in Form 2 and Form 3, you can respect your fellow students, your teachers, the people who clean around the school, the neighborhood, the people in the neighboring villages. These are not theoretical considerations, ladies and gentlemen. These are things that you can do on a day-to-day in school. And remember, what you learn from school is not just geography, mathematics, and history. You also learn how to become future citizens as responsible men and women. Let me give you one more example. You've seen there about being a good citizen. A good citizen is one who obeys laws, as an example. What does that mean? It means that when you learn in high school how to respect the rules that are set by the school to be followed, it ensures that when you grow up and get into society and you're a participant, as we are, you will be able to very easily follow the laws of the land. And prisons will be places that you will only hear about. You do not suddenly leave university and learn how to obey rules and regulations. You start doing that now. I want to say something else, ladies and gentlemen. That learning this, how to respect the law and regulations, comes from the internal you yourself, but your friends or people who think they're your friends also have a rule to tell you, mbona we are told we have to go to our dorms by 9 and it's now 9:15, mbona wendi? Why can't we just listen to what you have been told? It will follow you into the future. The second bullet is also important. Do good to your school community. The school community. Let's start from school communities. Let's ask ourselves, are we really burning this rubbish in the place that is apportioned for this activity? Are we concentrating on our studies as was intended? Are we being mindful of picking rubbish around your school? Is not a complicated thing, but it shows and it prepares you for looking after your environment into the future, a fact that will make Wangari Maathai, God rest her soul, very happy indeed. Keeping promises. And it's not just keeping promises to the headmaster, it's keeping promises to each other. Mimi No, sasa huyu anaanza kunishtua. Somebody here amesema, I stuck a lot. Completely. All right? It is important to understand that reliability is critical of leadership. And again, it's not a theoretical matter. It is something that says, I know if I leave it to Juma to make sure that that tree that we planted does not dry, I can rely on Juma to do it. I'm not here to tell you theoretical things. I'm telling you things that you do every day in school. Very often, we hear, oh, how walipigana, oh, how waliumizana. That is primitive behavior. That is behavior that was appropriate 30,000 years ago. Human beings will always have differences in school and in society. In civilized communities, tunazungumza, tunaelewana. The need to respect and accept differences is part of the definition of a civilized society. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Form 2 or Form 3, whether you're a doctor, whether you're in business, whether you're a president, whether you're in the UN, there will always be differences. We as human beings are thinking animals, and you must expect that we will hold different opinions. I know I sound like a boring old grandfather, but I was brought up in a culture where people had good manners. Thank you. Please, excuse me. May I? That is what sets me and my society away from apes and gorillas. All right? And if our school is going to be different from a pack of animals, we will speak with good manners. If you don't agree with me, forgive me at the very least. Basic things. I have told you that by our nature, we make mistakes. I have made mistakes. I will continue to make mistakes. I beg of you, to the extent that I can, forgive me. I know this sounds like a lecture, and it is a lecture, but it's important that we bring these issues home to the classroom, such as this one. We expect you, ladies and gentlemen, to show gratitude. When I finish this lecture, I want you to show me gratitude, at least clap. Even if it's not a good lecture, at least I tried and I came. However, lakini don't clap now, do that afterwards when I have finished. Civilized society demands that people treat each other with gratitude. Now that brings me to the body of my presentation. Hiyo ilikuwa ni kionjo. We now come to the body, the thrust of my presentation. I understand some of you had fallen off to sleep. It's okay, it's early in the morning, it's a cold day. Breakfast was good and heavy, yes? But I hope now you can tell your neighbors, amka. Waambieni waamke. Amkeni. Amkeni kabisa. Tuendelee mbele. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the sources of stress in people in Form 2 and in Form 3? And they are divided into those categories that I have indicated there. I hope you're all looking and are all awake. You don't know this, but I can tell you because I have been through this. Almost by definition, adolescence is a very difficult time. And you're all going through adolescence. It is a very challenging time. It is also a very wonderful time, I can confirm to you. And the reason it is that way, is because that is the way the human body has been designed. That from the age of 14, 15, 16, some say up to the age of 24, a lot is changing. The most obvious things are that's obvious. And then there are issues.
Because some boys, even when they are 16, their voice is still like a girl.
It can be an issue. If you're like me, by the time I reached Form 3, my beard was up to here. And no, seriously, I had a big beard by Form 3. And that caused problems. It caused problems for me because the school rule was you must shave. And those young men who are here today and have become like me, you will know the challenges of shaving a beard when you're young. You get bumps, big bumps, when you shave. Yeah. And those things have two types of problems. The first problem is that they itch. And the second problem is that girls don't like it. Now that is a problem. When girls don't like your face, it can be, yeah, I told you I've been there, so I know. So you grow the beard, you're in trouble. You cut your beard, you're in even more trouble. Those are serious things. And then for girls, and I know this because I have sisters and I have a daughter, this issue of breasts enlarging, and in some cases not enlarging, become a matter of conversation. Oh, they're too big. Huh? Oh, they're too small. By the time you reach Form 4, they are calling you names like Mama Kamau. So you thought I don't know. I know these things. These are real issues. And they come to you at the same times that some boys and girls are being teased about having been circumcised or not being circumcised. And as a doctor, and I see a lot of these situations, particularly in Form 1, with the boys, these are serious issues. And we need to think about and around them. Adolescence is real. It takes its full impact in Form 2 and in Form 3. And you must talk to one another. You must talk to your teachers. You must talk to us, because I can tell you, adolescence, being in Form 2 and Form 3, can be great fun. Ask me. Isitoshe. There are these people called parents. Now, all the parents I know, when they were in Form 2 and Form 3, came number 1. I don't know of any parent who came number 2. And they all say, oh, you know me in my class, I was always number 1. I don't know why you're growing yourself to be number 10. Uongo mtupu. But that is the way parents are. They mean well, but they give often wrong examples. But there is no parent who means well who does not pressurize you. Teachers are the same. Let me tell you a secret. And I'll tell you this secret as long as you promise not to tell. You promise? We as your parents have problems. Can you believe that? We as your parents have worries. We as your parents have anxieties. We as your parents are sometimes afraid. We as your parents sometimes disagree with each other. We as your parents sometimes have absolutely no money. So when you see us moody, angry, irritable, and you're already in Form 3, please ask yourselves, is it possible that mommy and daddy had a bit of a tiff? Is it possible that daddy and mommy are having financial problems? These are secrets that parents don't share with you. Because I'm an old man and a storyteller, I can tell you those secrets. Parents have issues. Teachers have issues. Teachers go on strike. Teachers won't have money problems, have personal health issues. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that we, as your parents and grandparents, are human. Surprise, surprise. And we also require some understanding. And we sometimes cause you stress and anxiety. Then there are other issues. When it is convenient to me, I call you children. Good morning, children. When it is convenient to me, you're adults and you must be responsible. So I decide what you are. You don't decide. And it can sometimes be very difficult. Sometimes you are children, sometimes you are adults. I'll come to peer pressure in the course of time. But as this is important also, we talk about peer pressure as though presidents don't apply pressure on each other. Poor guy from South Sudan is under so much pressure from fellow presidents to have peace in South Sudan. Headmasters apply pressure to each other. Christians apply pressure to each other. The only difference between presidents and adolescents like yourselves is that by nature and by definition, you find your peers very, very, very important, and the need to conform is critical. Then there are other stressors. I've told you that hormones rage right, left, and center. That's the way the human body is. And those changes in and of themselves cause a lot of stress within the maturing body. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Biology is very interesting. It has created, and girls listen to this, the female gender as a stronger sex. Girls and women are biologically stronger than you boys. Poleni sana. To make it even more complicated for you boys, and you can receive my sympathies on this one, girls at adolescence mature earlier than we poor boys. Poleni sana. So, by the time you're in Form 3 like you are now, the girls, sorry, gentlemen, think of you a bit childish. And your behavior is a bit silly. Now you're in the same class, and they're your sisters, and sometimes your friends, but really your behavior ni bure kabisa, una utoto mwingi sana. That, by the way, and angalia wengine wanacheka pale, I can see. They think of the classmates who are silly. That is something we don't talk about, because we treat all 17-year-olds as though they are the same. They are not. And then there are other things we don't talk about. Falling in love. Oh yes, some people are doing like this now, like this, like this. It's real. By the time I was 17, I was deeply in love. I can tell you her name if you ask me. She was so beautiful. I was so deeply in love. I know where she is. But in school and in class, we behave as though feelings for each other do not exist. If we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge that reality, then those thoughts and feelings are suppressed and oppressed and hidden and lead to serious dangers. Now, I want to give you a very quick explanation as to why biology has done that trick on us. In the olden days, when we lived close to the jungle, the oldest people on earth were aged 30 years. So by the time you're 30, you're dead. Either you died in war, of disease, in childbirth, dead completely. So nature designed you so that by the age of 17, you're already a father and a mother. Life was fast and furious. Now what nature has done is forgotten. Nature has forgotten that now we live until we are 80 and has already prepared you for falling in love and having children before you're 80. Are we together? So those are real things. They are things we need to discuss so that we don't get ourselves into problems. And then there are complicated things like relationship with our parents. I've alluded to that. These are stressors and these are real. And I would suggest that when the time comes in your schools, you need to think about it. There are other real issues. When you are turning 16, 17, and 18, your parents know you're Muslim, you're Christian, their positions spiritually are clearly defined. You are not sure. Why should you be sure? I remember in school, there was something called the Christian Union. I don't know if you have Christian Union in your schools. Some of those boys who were in Christian Union, these days, randa all over the place. Total failures in life. Thieves. That is because they had entered those unions under pressure, not having thought with their own heads what was going on. Adolescents, and I'm going to get into serious trouble with the chaplaincy teachers, is a time of contemplation, is a time of looking, of searching, of seeking to understand. And if you're not sure where you lie spiritually at the age of 17, that's perfectly all right. It'll be nice if you had a spiritual position, but if you're still searching, that's because you are normal. So don't allow yourselves, and I'm a parent and I grandparent, fall under the pressure of requiring you to declare, Jukute tenderesa. You don't have to do that at 17. But you're required to think about spirituality. This is a subject that we keep coming back to. I will submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that by definition, an adolescent is the subject of peer pressure. When you're 7 or 8 years old, your parents know exactly where you are, what you're eating, where you're going to sleep. When you're 17, for goodness sake, why should your mother know what you're eating and who you're eating with? You're doing like this. And that is a constant struggle. Why should your mother know how you want to dress? Everybody is dressing in this particular way. Everybody in the world. So you think. But when you're 17, 16, the pressure to conform is natural. And I wish more parents would understand that to feel that pressure is the way the human person and society is defined. If you allow yourselves to discuss this in school, next term or moving forward, even your teachers might be able to understand the reality a little bit better. You are transitioning from being under the pressure of your parents to being under the pressure of your peers. But remember also, there is positive pressure. When I was 17, the pressure I was under was to do good for society. I was president at the age of 17 of our local Interact Club. And our business was to go and work for handicapped children. But there are other people who feel the pressure to skip school. Now, because of all the things that I have talked about, all the pressures that I have given you, adolescence is a time of mood fluctuations. Sometimes you wake up happy, 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 singing, singing, singing. Another day you are in a lousy mood. You know what? It's not only girls who are changing in their moods. Even boys have fluctuations of moods. And I wish more teachers and parents would understand that these mood changes that we go through as adolescents are part of what life is about. But sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, things go wrong. And those mood swings stop being normal mood swings and become medical conditions. Depression, anxiety, and so on. There is where you need help. Because that represents a time at which the system is not working. But how can you tell? How can you at the age of 16 or 17 tell that there is now a compromise in my system and you're slipping, for example, into a state of depression? There are things like you find you're not sleeping too well, you're not eating too well, you're more irritable than usual. But an excellent way of telling is when you go to class and you can't understand what the teacher is saying. You go to class and you cannot concentrate on what the teacher is saying. End of term comes and you used to be number 7, now you are number 17. And the following term you are number 27. Let me tell you a secret. If you are a bright boy or a bright girl, you will stop being bright when you enter the grave. Before that, if you're not performing, something is the matter with you. Shall I say that again? Clever people are clever people, full stop. And you're clever, that's why you're here. So when you find that your performance in school is going down, ladies and gentlemen, something is the matter. Seek help. Go to your counseling guidance teacher, go to your teacher, go to your friends, go to your parents, go to your pastor, go to somebody and say, I don't feel good. And guess who falls ill? Guess who falls into a state of need of help? Shall I tell you who it is? Human beings. For as long as you're a human being, this will happen to the best and cleverest of them all. I heard you being asked questions about why do we bother? Why did I bother waking up this morning to come and talk to you? Why do you bother going to school? Why do you bother to study? It might be easier to be a king, you might think. This chap, Prince Charles, is about my age. He has said many times that even being the son of the queen doesn't make him happy. He's a very sad man. You could look into the Bible to see if more is better, whether all you need is wisdom, and there are some very wise people around us. And as a good writer, the book says everything is meaningless. Pleasure is meaningless, wisdom, folly, meaningless, toil is meaningless, money is meaningless. Is that really true? It's not me. It's a holy book. I want, by way of conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, to say the following. I have surveyed, I have looked at your programs, and by way of conclusion, I'd like to say this. Who you are is more valuable than what you do. Is that too complicated, or do you understand what I'm saying? Nafsi yako is what matters. We don't define you by your intelligence or by your grades. Grades are important, and you must pursue high grades. But it is just enough to be yourself. As we are told in Sunday school, God loves you exactly the way you are. I want you to remember, I didn't get here in one big step. Your teachers didn't get there in one big step. It's a process. Being in Form 2 and Form 3 is a wonderful, wonderful place to be. We are allowed to make mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. You know why you're allowed to make mistakes? Because you're human beings. And by the very nature of your construction, you are imperfect. Everybody is different. Different people work in different ways. Don't try to work exactly like your sister or your brother or even your parents, even your teachers. We are wonderful because we are different in the way we do things. This is a good one. When I finish this lecture, and it sounds like it might be a good lecture, I will go and reward myself with a cup of coffee, because I like coffee. And I will say to myself, Mzee, kiboko yao, to myself, even if nobody else does. We don't know often enough how to thank and gratify and reward ourselves. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, commitment is not doing things when they are comfortable. Hard work has to be done and has to be done. If you expect to work hard so that your mom thanks you, so that your dad thanks you, that will get you nowhere. Your hard work needs to come from inside of yourself. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to end with this note. Things cannot be perfect. Things are perfect in heaven. We live in an imperfect world. But that's no reason to give up. Sometimes things are not. Your school has issues. Does that mean you burn the dormitories? Sometimes the teachers are not good. Is that reason to go on strike? Let's give this world a chance. We will get to heaven where all things are perfect. We are not perfect parents, we are not a perfect country, but we do our best. So I would submit to you this, ladies and gentlemen. This program that we are under, this program that has given us the chance and opportunity to rise and to make a difference in this world, is reason enough for us individually and collectively to count our blessings. This Equity Foundation program is one, in my view, a truly blessing for this country, for you young men and women, and for the entire world in general. And that is good enough reason for us to dedicate ourselves to this, our republic. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daktari. One of the things which I would want to mention to you scholars so that you can know how privileged you are professionals